Welcome to the Gold and Blue Lunch Report, where we have a case of the Mondays. But that's not a bad thing, because it means we're taking stock of West Virginia's 49-0 cakewalk through Kansas. You know the drill. We evaluate all 8 units, giving their stock an up, down, or neutral. Feel free to score along at home or your office, or if you're watching on your phone at some coffee shop over a pumpkin spice whatever. Pumpkin spice, overrated. All right, let's go defense first this week. A nod to West Virginia registering its first Big 12 shutout ever. Kyle Rose, one of those seniors who held the team together after October's swoon, he had a 2-sack day. Now Rose's backup, Darian Howard, should have had one too, but Ryan Willis slipped away. Got to wrap him up, 49. Willis couldn't escape Christian Brown, however, who needs to become a difference maker on next year's defensive line. A lot of backups saw action. In fact, every backup saw action. Everyone on the defense who traveled got in the game. Even third-string nose tackle Jaleel Fields made 4 tackles as the Jayhawks ran for a meager 94 yards. After what happened in Lawrence 2 years ago, Nick Kwiatkowski said the defense wanted to, quote, start hot this time. Well, even on a 23-degree wind chill day, they started plenty hot. And once the backups went in, the starters became cheerleaders, desperate to preserve the shutout. Quit had a simple message for the young guys. You better not let them in. You better not let them in. Well, the end zone remained closed, and Kansas put up only 221 yards, its second fewest this season. The secondary forced 4 turnovers, 2 of them right off the jump, thanks to Terrell Chestnut. The senior cornerback forced a fumble and then sniffed out a curl route for a pick 6. Now, West Virginia intercepted Ryan Willis 3 times, the most thrown by the freshman this year. Rasul Douglas made a tremendous takeaway at the goal line. That's where being a 6'2" corner comes in handy. First career interception for Douglas, and even third-stringer Nana Kyra made his first pick as well, keeping that donut on the scoreboard. First West Virginia season with multiple shutouts since 1996. And the Mountaineers, they held Kansas to a season-low 127 passing. Now over to the offense, where Skylar Howard became the first Mountaineer since Patrick White to run and throw for more than 100. For weeks, he'd been plugging away at the short gainers, but he found much more running room against the overmatched Kansas defense. Howard with 129 and a touch on the ground, averaging better than 14 per carry. He also flipped an easy score to Cody Clay, Howard's 19th TD of the season. He was 13 of 22 for 133 yards. Howard was happy with the win, but definitely would like a couple of do-overs. This bomb sailed past a wide-open Jovan Durant on what would have been a 57-yard touchdown. And then there was this interception that hung up in the wind, sort of like a paper airplane. Backup William Kress saw his first extended action at quarterback since September, and you know, he's still a work in progress. Kress played quarterback for 6 series, none of which produced points. He was 3 of 10 with an interception. Should be an interesting offseason in which the staff decides whether to continue repping Kress at quarterback or use his talent elsewhere. Jordan Thompson didn't expect much of a crowd at Kansas. In fact, he told his teammates, quote, it would be like we were at practice. Well, he had a nice practice then, catching a season-high 6 balls for 68 yards. Not exactly eye-popping, but it at least proved West Virginia has an intermediate passing game. How about Ricky Rogers? Showing you how they bust open the screenplay in Monroeville, PA. The redshirt freshman made his first 2 college catches. But the primary outside receivers didn't do much. Karan White didn't dress, reportedly banged up from the Texas game. Jovan Durant held without a catch for the second time this season. Shelton Gibson, he did make his first catch in 3 games, but could not come up with 2 50-50 balls at the goal line. To be fair, this one was maybe 40-60 because of the wallop from Kansas's Derek Neal. Even Carl Joseph has to like that one. David Sills was shut out also, but at least the guys in the receiver room will get a chuckle out of him looking hilariously discombobulated on this interception. What? Where? What? That's a Vinny Barbarino reference, kids. Google it. Wendell Smallwood was salivating over the chance to run against the KU defense, and Saturday it was time to eat. With 115 yards on 18 carries, Smallwood enjoyed his 7th 100-plus game of the season. And as we check the Big 12 rushing race, He sits just fractions behind Baylor's Shock Linwood with 2 games to go in the regular season. Smallwood sounded surprised that Kansas stuck with its cover 2 plan, which essentially took the safeties out of the running game. Russell Shell wasn't complaining though. He ran for 108 yards and, like Smallwood, had 2 TDs. In front of every good running game, there's a good offensive line, and West Virginia's looked very good in Lawrence, despite Adam Pankey lasting only 1 series on a tender ankle. In his place at left guard, Tony Mateo and Stone Underwood filled in quite sufficiently, thank you. The 7.7 yards per carry were the most since Tavon Austin's wild night versus Oklahoma back in 2012. Smallwood said these were the biggest holes he's ever seen. And Kansas coach David Beatty, he addressed the carnage. Quote, "They definitely played very well up front, moved us around. There were times where we did pack the box and they were able to schematically beat it." Along with a good running game, no sacks allowed either, and Skylar Howard was only hurried once. So go ahead and point that offensive line arrow north. Now we interrupt our regularly scheduled program of up arrows for a neutral. That's because the West Virginia field goal unit did not account for Brandon Stewart, as in the flying Brandon Stewart, who soared in to block this 41-yarder. But nothing could block the boom leg of Nick O'Toole, who averaged 53 yards on 5 punts. And guess what? 4 of those were booted directly into the wind. And now West Virginia gets ready to play its home finale against Iowa State, which will be undergoing a different type of finale as Coach Paul Rhodes was fired on Sunday. He will stick around to coach the final game in Morgantown on Saturday. Good guy, great defensive mind. Hate to see him go, but you understand given the record of the Cyclones in recent years. In women's soccer action on Sunday, West Virginia winning its NCAA Sweet 16 matchup against Loyola Marymount 5-2, thanks to 3 second-half goals from Kaylee Utley. Next up for the second-seeded Mountaineers, an Elite 8 matchup against Penn State. That's a rematch from earlier in the season. The Mountaineers won that one 1-0. And there's Monday night hoops over at the Coliseum. 3-0 West Virginia hosting 2-1 Bethune-Cookman, another preliminary to the Las Vegas Invitational. As always, keep it logged on here to WVMetroNews.com for continuing coverage of Mountaineers athletics. For the Gold and Blue Lunch Report, I'm Allan Taylor. Everybody, enjoy your Monday.